Okay, so I'm with Dave of Coinhuskers, Coinhuskers.com. They're a gold and silver bullion dealer. And this is, how's this for a waiting area? I'm loving it. So let's get started. This is Dave with Coinhuskers.
Hello, everybody.
Tell them a little bit about, actually, just tell them about Coinhuskers. I know you have a YouTube channel. We've got a sign back here. We got to get you more people on there, and I have questions about market things and all that. But tell us a little bit about what your business is all about.
Yeah, so at Coinhuskers, we buy and sell and trade gold and silver, and we also deal in palladium, platinum, and then we deal with jewelry, watches, collectibles, currency. So we do a lot of different things here.
Very good. We're finding out basically who Coinhuskers.com is. He is a true bullion dealer. Nickel stacking. You're gonna like this because he does buy and sell jewelry as well. So that's something that I've learned today as far as that goes. How many years have you been in business, Dave?
So we started in 2011. So I actually first started a store in Pocatello, Idaho, of all places, because there was no sales tax. So we had from Omaha, Nebraska, and we had sales tax in Nebraska up until 2014. So we started in Idaho, 2011, and then had a store in Council Bluffs in Iowa, just right across the river from Omaha, from 2012 to 2014. And then once we got no sales tax, moved over to Nebraska in 2014.
It's kind of interesting you'd move from Iowa to Nebraska for tax purposes. It's usually
you use the other way.
they're trying to take everybody's property here, I think, in Nebraska with the property taxes. What percent of sales would you say, Dave, is your retail sales versus sales to dealers?
Yeah, percent wise, I mean we track this and analyze it. To put a pinpoint on a number, I would say probably retail would be 25 to maybe close to 30%, and then the rest would be wholesale.
Very good. That's kind of what I was thinking the ratio was, but I wasn't too sure. In the retail side, do you deal more in like the collectible series of coins and silver and gold coins, or do you do more bullion type, like a generic, the buffaloes, that type of thing?
I mean, mostly wholesale is bullion. I mean, we do wholesale out a lot of different rare coins and currency that we don't put on our YouTube videos, just because we have 10 plus year relationship established, and it's easier to sell to guys that we know aren't going to be picky on grades and condition, and just that we know they're going to treat us right and pay us the best possible.
Yeah.
It's easier to put rare coins and currency to go to establish relationships. So those mostly we just go with dealer to dealer. We do have retail clients that we've dealt with for many years as well that we sell that to, but mostly that product goes to just dealers that we have a select few that we deal with.
Yeah, very good. When we did the sale the other day, I don't know if you noticed, but I was kind of pushing away from I am pushing away from more of the collectible things. I'm really starting to gear towards weight and weight specific. I just think for my purpose in stacking in the first place is more for weight than, although I do still now. Akadaka in Australia, a good friend, sent me a kookaburra the other day, and it's hard not to get sucked right back in. There's a guy named Constitutional Stacker that's I think we're going to start a 12-step program for for the collection addictions and things like that. What's the farthest that you've shipped? I know that Two Brothers Stacking in Maine is really high on you right now. They're very, very pro Coinhuskers.
Yeah, Maine was one of the last ones that they crossed off the list. I mean, we shipped to I think every state at this point. Alaska, we had somebody, they're in a good friend in a really remote part of Alaska
Wow.
that we ship to. So it's really expensive to ship because sometimes they'll buy a decent amount of silver rounds, and I think last time it was like almost $800 in shipping. So that's one place that is probably the most remote in the U.S. So we don't ship out of the U.S., but there is, we can in certain aspects, but we don't really advertise it. Yeah, just the expense. I mean, Canada would be the most ideal place to ship, and Canada shipping is $40 usually per box if it's silver, or even just kind of standard, unless it's again, like the friend in Alaska. It's really, the weight is dependent on what the shipping cost is going to be. So that'd be one of the more places is Canada, and then Mexico, but mostly we'd ship up to Canada.
What kind of ratio do you have as far as gold to silver in your sales? Is it primarily silver in your sales?
It is actually. We track that and trace that. So I did the math. I mean, so far this year, which I can even pull it up right now, but in total volume wise, we've sold, it's quite a bit more on silver this year. So I would say 70% of the business has been silver, and then 30% has been gold, looking at the numbers.
It's very good. And what about, are you seeing more people sell right now than usual, or out of fear, like the FOMO kind of thing, or?
No, I mean, we actually, last month was our second best selling month that we've had, and it wasn't too far off from being one of the best months. So we did buy, a decent amount last month, but it's still, in terms of buy and sell, we sold 8 times more than what we bought. So we're seeing, and that's yeah. I mean, usually the amount has been higher. It's more been kind of 9 to almost 10 to 1, and then whereas like 2019, it was about 1.5 to 1. When that's when premiums are low. So believe it or not, people buy when the market's going up. Or last month, gold and silver had a good month, and that brought on people in low premiums. So that brought on people buying, and then we did get up to 2,000 on gold. We did have a decent amount of people that were wanting to sell. So all of a sudden that week, things started to switch to where we started buying a decent amount. So it does ebb and flow, really good. So I mean, we had, kind of give an example, we had a few people that want to sell kind of larger quantities. We had several 6-figure amounts that people were looking to sell. One was, we had somebody want to sell 1.5 mil that they're adamant they want to wait till $2,000 an ounce. So that all of a sudden we're ordering a lot of product, then you got to try and come up with a good amount of cash in a quick amount of time. It's that can kind of throw stuff off. So those are always, that's something like that doesn't come around very often, but you got to juggle inventory around just to be able to handle something like that.
That's a huge number, and it kind of leads into one of my next questions, and that's your opinion on banking and the banking system. CBDCs. We'll just kind of tie all this in here together, because you guys do obviously a large amount of cash, and there's been in the community, there's been some shops that have had their accounts closed, and they've had a lot of trouble with that. Is that something that you see as an issue going forward from this point on? And how do you think that CBDCs would affect the prices of gold and silver as far as the markets?
Well, first part of that, so opinion on banking, if you really, honest opinion, I
think I know.
I mean, U.S. banking, I actually have a banking degree as a joke, basically because I despise the bank so much. But I mean, obviously,
didn't know that. Excellent.
Yeah, the U.S. banking system is an absolute joke. I mean, I personally have gone and tried to get, accounts in different countries, and have done, some legwork on that. I had my mom even open up a bank account in Mexico, and got her a permanent residence there in 2021. So I'm a big believer in if you have all your capital and your assets in the U.S. banking system, it's being very ignorant to the U.S. banking system. Is just and
you are among friends here who are actually.
Oh yeah. So I mean, the U.S. banking system, obviously it's a disaster. I mean, we have we have one of the, it's a very, this is the greatest Ponzi scheme in the history of the world. The U.S. banking system is over leveraged. You don't hear too much about banks in Singapore or Switzerland going bankrupt. But if you look at safest banks in the world, and we've tried to put this information out there, that you can only find one. Well, Agribank is the safest bank in the United States, and that's they're actually, somebody did comment in our video that they actually do business with them. But very few banks in the U.S. you can find in the top 100 of the safest banks in the world.
Wow.
So it's if you look at U.S. as a country, and even in 2008, we were rated, I think it was like 40th. So we weren't even in the top 40 in the world. So even right now, the U.S. as a country, in terms of safest banks, the Americans can't even name probably 40 other countries, let alone safest banks. So
States, much less country.
Yeah. So people do all sorts of research when it comes to electronics, everything else. But when it comes to putting capital on banks, the U.S. is definitely not, as a country, even a place that I would trust. So I don't trust. I don't trust any bank. So we have 4 bank accounts now. We actually had our bank account in February closed down. March, the bank failures, started happening. So we now banks want our cash. So we went from being cash running criminals to all of a sudden they want our cash.
That's so strange.
It's yeah. But I think CBDCs, they're going to have a huge effect if this does come to fruition. I mean, our whole way of life is going to change drastically. I mean, it's the situation. Hopefully we can keep the dream alive and keep cash going. So hopefully anybody out there, just keep using cash. Because CBDCs, our whole way of life is going to be tracked, traced, and we're going to be that's total slavery at that point, where everything, they know what you do, everything is traced. That is a situation that is extremely dangerous to our liberties and freedoms. So hopefully that doesn't happen, and I think if that does happen, there'll be a big black market for gold and silver, not only in the U.S. but all throughout the world. But that's where I believe it's also important to have some metals outside the United States. I actually rented a house in Thailand for a couple years that actually was storing some metals there, and then just because I didn't want to get a safety deposit box. But there's another company, Monetary Metals, which we've done several videos with them, that I love what they're doing. They're kind of creating their own alternative monetary system, quote unquote, where they're actually paying you interest to store your metals. Granted, there's a little bit more involved with this. That's they're doing gold leasing, but I think that's a great solution if CBDs come in places. That's one company that I think's ahead of the game, and I trust Keith completely and have another good friend involved with them. So hopefully, if CBD do come, that the free market will come up with alternatives and solutions. But if it does get implemented on full scale, it will be a total disaster.
I think one of the key terms there is free market,
which obviously we're nowhere in the world we have a complete free market.
Yeah. Silver Dragons and Yankee stacking really got me started, and I spend as much time as I can with T the Silver Stacker and Akadaka, and there's several guys in England. 365 is a huge player over there. The Stack Collectors become actually a good friend that I've never met. Shiny Precious Metals, those kind of guys over there, and Future Investments is another very young guy that's really smart, and I've been back and forth with him about the CBDC thing, because I think that Bank of England is really close to implementing that, the full-blown CBDC thing, and I've emailed back and forth going, you guys too bad you don't have a Second Amendment, fellas, because
yeah, no doubt.
That's really, and I'm afraid that we're running to the point of the complacency is going to be a problem, and it's going to allow several things. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime or not. Whatever, the Silver Dragons had a PVC safe that you bury in your backyard. You're talking about. That's where I was originally going with that, talking about, putting metals in different places, and I would gladly be your groundskeeper in Thailand if you
sounds good.
if you need it, or if you need somebody to drive you around up in Alaska,
sounds good, buddy.
I can handle doing that. Really, I just the only other things, and this is going to kind of lighten it up, so you guys lighten up on the other side over there. You know me.
Yeah.
What has been one of your funniest stories in business, and one of your worst stories in business?
Oh, funniest stories, business wise,
Besides
or
the
like
other day.
somebody? Yeah, besides the other. Well, it's like okay. So we had a store. This was in Omaha, Nebraska. So it was in Rockbrook. So across the way, there was a new place that opened up, and it's called Milkworks. So we had a friend. So it was actually person that helped me out. He came up with it. So we had this old guy to come in all the time, and so he's extremely serious. So basically, always thinking that the monetary system is going to fail, and just really uptight and dead. Just constantly being way too serious and uptight. So tell him that they had the best milkshakes in town. So we had him go down and get some milkshakes, but we had this older lady that was in at the time, and he was actually flirting with her, and the conversation was going really well. So he was gonna get us all milkshakes. So he goes down there and he looks at the sign, and they just had a little cutout billboard. It wasn't up top or anything, and so he looks at it and he calls me and asks, "Is this the price?" And I'm like, I'll say his name now, so it's fine, because his name's Lee, and so Lee calls me, and I'm like, "Yeah, Lee, you're right there. Just go in there." So Lee walks in there and asks for some chocolate milkshakes, and looks around, and it's for women's breastfeeding. So it's so that was pretty great, because his face when he came, I mean, it was just priceless. So we were sitting there laughing. But that's one of our funniest prank that we had. And then just funny other stories. One time I showed up, person, they had some, went to their house. They said they had a little bit of silver. So I showed up and they had almost 3,000 Silver Eagle proof coins. Well, they sent me a picture, so I knew it was quite a bit, but I just, for them it was like not that much. And then I showed up and I told them, okay, this is worth like over $100,000 here. and the person, they just had them laid out in the room, so it was just pretty funny, because they had no idea. They just had this stuff just laying out in a bedroom, and they had, you kind of knew a little bit of what it was worth, but it just was sit there stacked up in a bedroom. So that was one of our funnier stories of just somebody that had a lot more value than what they thought. So that was, a couple cool, funny stories, I guess. And then, the worst story, we had our first shipment ever. So it's one of our great friends. So you guys might know him. It's Josh from My Not Coin and Bullion. Yep. So this was last November. So this one sticks out in my head too, because it's November. Basically, this time last year, we shipped them up 20 silver Pioneer kilo bars. So first let me know, hey, we didn't get the kilos, and I'm like, okay, what do you mean? Because I packed them here on a Sunday, which I normally don't come here on a Sunday, and was just making sure that everything was boxed right, and just because we had a lot to ship that week, and sure enough, the kilos didn't show up, and then we had another package, and we had 10 more kilos stolen. So we ended up. Yeah, so it was the first time I ever had anything ever stolen on a shipment. So we had 20 kilos that were gone and stolen. Thankfully, we got 14 back in 2 different shipments, but that was probably our biggest disaster in terms of a shipment. And then biggest disaster in terms of a trade that I ever did. It was a silver Reddit deal. So February 2021, I bought, first bought 15,000 Britannias, and they all sold. So then I bought 10,000 more, and it took 6 weeks to get out of customs in Great Britain. They were supposed to ship literally that week, because they were coming from Great Britain, and it took like 6 weeks, and then the price just tanked. So I didn't want to take a beating on them, because I was like, I'll just keep them at a set number. I don't need to take a loss. So I basically sat on $200,000+ worth of Britannias for 6 months. So that was probably the worst decision, worst trade I've ever had, because normally I'd just dump that and move on, but that was the worst trade ever.
I never really ever thought about that side of it for dealers and bullion dealers like your sellers like yourself. It's like if I buy 10 ounces and or don't buy 10 ounces, and tomorrow it's $2 less or $2 more or $10 more, it's not that the world isn't going to end.
Yeah,
That's a huge deal.
Yeah, it's like a bath. I think we lost. It was close to 25 grand. So it's it's the way it rolls. I mean, we've gone the other way plenty of times too. So, but that's one where I was like, because I hadn't had a loss like all year. Every winning trade, I even joked with a friend. I was like, because the price at that point was like going up, so everything was doing great. And but yeah, that was the biggest loss on one trade that we had. So.
Cobra Stacker, you and 365 and TSC. See what you can do about Stack Collector and future investments. See what you can do about that postal system over in England for us over here. I don't think ours is too much better. Ours seems to be delayed by a day. Just
well, that was actually the customs. That hadn't held up. So yeah, the custom. Even in Canada, it happened. Same thing with Maples. We would have a shipment get delayed a week or two, so you just kind of got used to it during COVID. I mean, just you plan that there would be delays in shipments, and the only thing is just I wouldn't pre-sell, at that time because it just was you didn't want anybody upset. So thankfully we didn't have a situation like that.
Wow, I don't know that I could sleep at night. Well, now we've gotten to know you. I've gotten to know Dave. I might change the angle up just a little bit on this camera here, but my videos are pretty generic when it comes to things anyway. So, but I wanted to bring in some things, like it's part of the series that I'm doing on exit strategies. Well, I don't know how that got in there, but having a little British coin that got into the bag. Anyway, I brought in some things because the exit strategy I think is something that a lot of stackers don't think about and never actually implement. I brought in several different types. Now that you know what Dave looks like, you don't need to know what I look like, and we'll get a little better shot of the silver coming in. So what I brought in is basically an Engelhard. So kind of obviously this is somewhat collectible, but it's generic. Bullion, and then I brought in a bar. Yes, it's Johnson Matthey. Thank you, KJ Stacks. This is not for sale. But this is a sovereign, obviously, with the uncrowned king on the Britannia. This I brought in because Two Brothers Stacking. I still need your address so you can get your lobster coin. I'll
get it too. Hello, fellas.
And then I brought in from T the Silver Stacker. This is a 2.7 ounce pour, and it's a beautiful piece. None of this is going for sale right now. I just wanted different types of silver so you could see how in an exit strategy your bullion dealer will. And I think you're kind of the exception because there's not a lot of people that from what at least at the coin shops and things, I think a lot of people are lucky if they get spot.
Yeah, and we put our sell and buy prices at all times. So we have buyback prices displayed right there. So you want to deal with somebody that's being fully transparent of what they're going to buy and sell for, which very few, I think even in our town, we're the only one that has sell and buyback prices displayed. There might be one just because I talked to them and they kind of took advice. I think they know they display their just sell prices. But it's important that you know what the spread's going to be both ways. And then obviously if you're looking to sell, we always encourage people, you don't want to go back into debt dollars or pounds or Japanese yen or whatever currency you're going to trade in. You want to sell it for another asset if you can. Obviously expenses come up and life happens, so you need to take care of whatever expenses that come up. But that's most important is make sure you check around. I know Silver Seeker's famous for calling around and checking prices and doing a great service for people to show them just what a difference there is from buy and sell prices all throughout the United States. Thank you Yankee Stacker for introducing us, the community, to local silver mint there in New Hampshire. This is a
barter bag. They have 1/10 ounce pieces. That's another part. I love my fractionals, and you know, as far as that being a part of an exit strategy, I don't know. You know, more so for barter, obviously. Hence the name barter bag.
So usually, if you're selling, obviously, you know, everybody's stack is different. But usually, what I always recommend is sell off the things that you can't replace and get back. So if like you were to come in with a Engelhard prospector and you were asking me my opinion, I'd say, you know, probably hold on to those two, because you know, getting back Johnson Matthey Engelhard prospectors is not the easiest, but I can get you back Britannia's, no problem. Or this is a little different, unique piece, but I mean something that, you know, get back and replace. So that's where it also comes down. If you're looking at an exit strategy, says first plan out what other asset, if you have that ability that you're going to buy, whether that's real estate, stocks, or some other investment. But if you just need capital, obviously it is what it is. You're going to have to just sell whatever is in your stack just to cover whatever expenses you need to. But that's always my opinion. If somebody comes in and asks me, I'll first encourage them, just sell something that, you know, I personally, or some other dealer, whatever it is, wherever you're at, you know, that's something that's easy to replace, sell that first. And then the harder to replace stuff, sell that last. That's how I'd go about it. And then obviously, Dan, I don't care, you know, where you're at in the U.S., but call around and check whoever is going to give you the best deal. You know, go where you're treated best. Simple as that.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
But as far as prices, I mean, it's simple, easy process how we do it. So we pay people, it's under $10,000 cash. We'll, you know, do cash if they want it. Otherwise, we do cashier's check or bank wire. We started doing e-checks, but those are our 4 payment methods, but we like to do quickest payments possible. So cashier's checks, or bank wire is how we do it. And then if it's a bank wire cashier's check, you know, it's going to take some planning. So if you have whatever amount you're looking to sell, especially if it's a large amount, you know, make sure you give your dealer, you know, an opportunity to just plan ahead. Like the 1.5 million, they wanted to do it like that almost that same day, and it's like, yeah, that's about the first one on an exit where
you're
we
haven't been able
to about hand, so it's so yeah. Obviously, different circumstances, but
and stop and give me a milkshake at that place.
Yeah, go to Milkworks. But yeah, on these, I mean, these are still probably, but you know, if you're coming in, I would say definitely sell, you know, more of these items and sell that last. But as far as price, Britannias are easy. I think right now we were $1.50, and then something on a generic bar like this. I mean, so we have to look at resell. Like, what's our market? Who can we? So we'll have to look at. There's many different factors. So even on you brought me in a Johnson Matthey Engelhard prospectors. I get people lined up to buy these, but I still have to go by what I can legitimately wholesale this out for. So right now, like an Engelhard prospect, because this has toning here, so you got to factor a little bit. Obviously, you just want to make sure the features got a little nick there too. So we got to factor that in if we're going to buy it. So, do you quote you prices on this?
No, I was just wanting people to get the idea that it's spot plus whatever percent, but
like if these are brand new, fresh, without toning, realistically, I mean that's where you have to factor too. If you want to sell this yourself on eBay or other places, you just what's your time worth?
Right.
If you want to piece it out, so if you're somebody that has the time, I mean,
I find that to be an incredible pain in the ass because I'm just not a tech guy. Number one, and number two, it's like I don't have the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's our most valuable commodity. I mean, give an example. On last Friday, I would love to put on the video. We had $100,000 plus worth of stuff that I just wholesaled out because I didn't want to put it on the video because I wanted to send out 40, 50 different packages rather than just go one place, take a little bit less, and be done with it. So that's many different factors, but but the biggest thing is obviously check as many different places as possible and do what's gonna go where you're treated best and wherever gonna have the best deal.
And obviously,
but certain things might not be for certain dealers. I mean,
right.
Like I tell people like proof and mint sets, I don't want to stock and carry them, but I still we try and pay the strongest we can, but it's not something I don't carry one single proof and mint set in stock. So it really whatever item you have, just check whatever. There's some dealers that are going to pay us stronger on currency. There's some dealers that are going to pay stronger on type coins. You just have to go to, again, the best person possible for each collection. I mean, somebody might pay a premium for this bar here.
Yeah, and that's I think the different direction that I'm going with my stacking. I love my collectibles that I've got, but I'm not gonna, the sovereigns obviously are easier to sell if you need to.
Yeah.
Retain their value. It seems if you figure your time in as an expense, retain their value a little better.
Yeah, but a little bit of do's and don'ts of when you're coming in to the dealer is, we have a lot of people that, like I had a person in, they brought in a large type collection and we did it 4 Saturdays in a row, and he said they didn't know anything about this stuff, and didn't really care what home was paid on some of the stuff. So just go into, I was even telling him, you don't want to go into the dealer and really, say, so just do's and don'ts. So just, obviously be upfront. The biggest thing, like from a dealer in our spec, like when people come in, we want to see pictures. We try and screen some stuff before people come in because we just want to know how much time to plan for. But the biggest thing is just make sure that, don't say you don't know anything about what you have. That's one thing, because there is dealers out there. Obviously, you've seen that from Silver Secret videos that will, unfortunately take advantage. It is what it is. And then, so that's where it comes down to going to, again, somebody that has prices displayed. I wouldn't recommend walking into pawn shops or somewhere else where you don't know beforehand, before you even go in there, what they're going to pay you. Unless it's obviously a rare coin where you have to get several different opinions. But that's one of the biggest don'ts that I'd recommend that people that we've seen over the years is, people call up and say, I have no idea, what I have. I would recommend not saying that because, you find, unfortunately, the wrong dealer. They'll use that to their advantage. Which
is not a problem for us here in Omaha. So,
well, we still,
it's good advice. I mean,
we still seen that. There's several shops that aren't in business that I literally have seen them quote tens of thousands of dollars and thousands of dollars less than I have for. We're talking collections. One collection was even $5,000. The person was like $3,000 less. So that does. Don't matter where you're at. It happens.
Yep. It's that gold and silver fever, I guess. Money does strange things to some people. Well, it is. It's nice to know that you're here and you have the character that you do. I mean, that's huge with me. I think anybody in the community will tell you that I'm pretty much a stickler for personal integrity and honesty. I can't tolerate it. I get behind on things, and if I send somebody an apology for being behind on something, I mean it, But as far as that goes, I could see, especially in this business, your business, that could be a potentially big money maker for the dealer as far as.
Oh, completely. Well, that's actually why we opened up End State in Omaha. It was actually pretty atrocious when I went around and was checking, and just there was a couple dealers that were around and didn't quite have the best reputation, so we were able to build up pretty quickly. And I always said, price is displayed, and nobody at the end of the day can compete with honesty and transparency, and that's that's cream always rises to the top, and that's usually the bad apples get weeded out eventually.
Very good. I love it. All right. Well, that's the silver that I brought. Again, I'm not selling any of that. I just I sold what I wanted to sell the other day, and this man took very good care of me. And by the way, wound up picking up also at a very good price for me. Picked up the 10th ounce American Eagle that I got in gold, and I'm very.
We're gonna tell me your funny story. The other day?
Yeah, well, the other day, and Dave and I were laughing about this. The other day I came in, I was supposed to be at 1:15, right?
Correct.
And I got here at like 5 till. And so I took a shot of the chair and I said, this is my chair. I now have squatter's rights. And it's kind of like Norm's chair in Cheers. So anyway, long story short, I didn't get up and come over. He was very, very busy, and it was very gracious of him to work me in the first place. And we were going to shoot the video. And I sat there and waited a while, and people were coming and going. And one guy came in and sat down on the couch out there, and then a third guy came in, and a lady came out and said, well, you waiting on Coinhuskers? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, they'll come out and get you when they're ready. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I know he's busy and all that. And so like 3:00 gets here, and I'm like, maybe I was just sticking a note in his door when he came down the hall and said, well, I thought you blew me off. And I'm like, no, I've been sitting out here. As it turns out, all three of us sitting out there should have made our presence known. And I don't know if the other guy, he was asleep when I left.
Well, funny note. So we had a 1:00. I called him. He was late, and usually he's like early, so he thought it was 1:30, and our text like 3 times said 1:00. So I was busting his chops, and then he came at 1:15, and I asked him if he saw anybody out there. And he did, so no, and then we had the 1:30 was an email, and they never responded back because I said 1:30 p.m. and then they didn't respond back, so I would have had no idea if they were coming or not.
Yeah.
And then we had just people coming, so I didn't get a chance to go out there, and our whole team was shipping, so it just it was that won't happen. To happen the same day where we had 2 people was bizarre. Let alone we won't happen to have that happen all year, but we get a lot of people that sometimes they no call, no show, because then they'll send us a message like 2 hours later. I was in an appointment, or
something came up.
We deal with a lot of business.
Something came up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just thought, I must have had the time because our 1:00. I missed the time too. So I was like, okay.
I thought you blew me off.
No, yeah.
That was excellent.
And then he's been here before, so I thought he'd knock on the door because usually he comes right to the door. So that's why I was like, he just probably something came up.
I was in my my beta mindset, I guess, instead of my alpha mindset, because ordinarily I'd have gotten up and come over and knocked on the door, but I thought, he's being kind enough to work me in.
So he's not as cranky as what he sounds.
I was a little cranky.
Not to me, but he probably would. I would be dang cranky if I waited that long. I couldn't believe you waited that long, but or at least said something to somebody. What the heck's can you tell them I'm here?
That's how I roll.
That's why I was laughing the most part. He didn't tell somebody I was here. I was like, we had all these people coming and going, and he didn't say anything. Like, literally, there was probably 6-8 people in that time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm glad business is good for you.
Yeah, thank you. But at least you know the appointments work. It's every 10-15 minutes usually.
Oh man, it's like it happened in threes that day, and it just is. Some days are just like that, and it's. I got more important things to worry about than.
Well, it won't happen again. So now we got that covered.
Well,
anything that you can think of that you want us to touch base or?
Not really, actually, unless we just kind of chit chat. This is mainly what I wanted to show everybody.
You got any hard questions at all?
The stackables? No, yeah. What's the meaning of life?
It's definitely more than just collecting the meaning of life. Well, it's an individual decision, and I think life should be lived on your own terms, and that's.
And you all know me. My short answer is it was a movie from Monty Python back in about 1980 something. Very funny, by the way. But I do appreciate you taking the time. This is exactly the kind of thing that I know a lot of people are stacking.
We can go over what we paid. So Britannia's right now, we are paying $1.50 over on a bar like this, 2.7 ounces.
When you say $1.50 over.
So spot, let's just say silver's at $22.50.
Right.
$1.50 over would be $24 per ounce. So 24 each. Because this is in, it's nice uncirculated condition BU. If it was spotted, like compared Britannia's, right now I'd say we'd be 50 cents over for coming in. And then Eagle Eye Prospector like this In this condition, I would say 26. The Johnson JM bar, I'd say right now, it's got a few scratches. Roughly, because of the scratch.
There's that dealer eye for you right there. Yeah.
And I usually I'd take off the case, but if it's, if it's got a little nicks and scratches like that, I'd say same price. And then, so if these weren't scratched and impaired, it'd be higher. And then on this bar here, I'd say 25 cents over spot. And then on the grams right now, on these, they got to be clearly marked. So that's what I'm looking for, just making sure that these are clearly marked on these. Which,
it is, actually. This is that local silver mint that I was talking to you about in New Hampshire. And it does say...
so on these, depending on quantity...
It says 1/10, and it does say 3 9s on the top there, on the right-hand side.
So I would say on these ones, we'd probably be 50 cents over on those right now.
Very good.
So that's...
Do you ever
and then quantity matters too. So if somebody, you're bringing in a box, it's sealed box of Britannias, we're going to factor that. So quantity and condition is really what comes down to what matters.
I honestly was surprised. A pawn shop up by my house, and they're pretty good. I know a couple of the people in there. I picked up actually some pretty good individual pieces that they had in their counter, but as part of this exit strategy video series I was wanting to do, I talked to them and they said, well, you come in a lot, so spot. Well, I can probably give you spot.
Yeah,
the guys out in Millard, same thing. They would do spot. They don't always do that. And that's because
you got that relationship.
That's a really important word in this, y'all. Is relationship with the. And that's kind of another point of why I was doing this, was so that people can see the relationship that.
And that's all
exit important.
Yeah, that's exit strat. I mean, all relationships summed up by one word: trust. So go to whoever treats you the best and you trust the most. That's number one. Yeah. I mean, I'll take less money from somebody that I've dealt with 100 times or somebody I've dealt with once.
Well, and you know what? That's even as a retail customer, that's my mentality too. Mm-hmm. If I've got a relationship with you like we do, I'm not gonna go anywhere else. I mean, I don't want to go to the great big dogs online necessarily anymore. I won't. Over a half-ounce issue. There's that character thing again, and so that type of thing. It's just really fortunate for me, being as cranky as I am about things, to have somebody like yourself in that, in my own backyard. I mean, basically that was one of my videos. It's in my own backyard, and we're very fortunate. But you can drive here. That we do have highways in Omaha. We do have indoor plumbing. We've got a finely tuned police helicopter that flies over my house quite often. Not looking for me, but the cranky acres are on the edge of Mad Max's neighborhood. And fortunately, we're blessed to have some sanity in our neighborhood and some really close neighbors. That makes a difference, and they're pretty good folks too. But well, that's really about all I want to talk about officially on the video. And I do appreciate your time.
Hey,
I appreciate the tour that you've given me, and I had no idea this building was this big.
Yeah, it's
massive. Huge.
It's huge. Yeah, it's really big.
By all means, everybody go online, go on YouTube. You're there anyway. Go to the channel Coinhuskers and check out his channel, and his website is coinhuskers.com.
Yes.
Correct? So that's about the end of the official part on my part anyway.
Well, thanks for everybody taking the time to watch. Appreciate all you do for the shout outs and just your friendship, and thanks for caring as much as you do to help everybody.
Appreciate it.
All right, make the most of your day, everybody.
So this is the cranky one with Dave from Coinhuskers.com. Take two.
Oh.
I probably will come back and pick that chair up next Friday.
Oh, yeah, sounds good. Tarnish on this.
Toning. It's called toning. You know, in the community.
Toning. Sorry. Yes. So okay, toning here.